All right, friends, it's T-Man, and I'm back again with Blaha, JasonBlaha, our favorite influencer. You know who? The gym lifting, recruiting, lifting slave. Yes, man. JasonBlaha himself. Let's review this video, dude, because he's always popping up a new video. Let's see what Blaha has to say. Blaha says, if you are not gaining muscle, you are not training hard. Okay. You're not training hard.
If you are not gaining,
You think that do you consider eating training? See what I mean? Or you don't think that doesn't play a big part in lifting weights?
muscle in the gym, you are simply not training hard enough or are not training correctly. Hey everybody, I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little.
See, you're not training hard enough or training correctly. That's why you're not gaining muscle. What if you're not eating? I thought building muscle was based on eating, not lifting weights. But okay, whatever, Blaha. Whatever turns your crank.
Bit about this today. And this is something I see a lot of, and unfortunately a lot of it comes from people watching social media, who they're watching way too many guys who use way too much stuff and are just giving bad general advice. It's not going to work for a lot of these more novice and intermediate natural lifters. It's just not going to work. And you know, I see a lot of guys who do that, like, but I am training hard. I've had clients, like, I'm going to have an endless supply of clients because of this who are going to.
Oh, he's going to get an endless supply of clients, guys, at the end of this. Because, man, JasonBlaha is the foremost person when it comes to building muscles. He knows everything. Look at his body, does the talking. He's speaking, but body's doing the talking for him.
Be dishing out 300 a month, at least for a few months till they learn the basics and then they go back.
Dishing out $300 a month. Oh, they learn the basics and that's it. You know, the funny thing is in life, this is a life lesson that you learn. Everything works in the beginning and then it stops working. And then people are like, they're like flabbergasted. Why isn't it working anymore? See what I mean? Why isn't it working? Because in life, things are based on an adaptation process. That's why they stop working. You could consider it the protective effect. You could call it the protective effect. Yeah, something like that. Well, in science, they call it the repeated bout effect phenomena.
To it. But I mean, I get it all the time.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And then, you know, they start making gains for 2 or 3 months and they're good and they go over to doing their own novice type training.
Yeah, they make some gains 2-3 months. They make their own gains 2-3 months. And then they go over to doing their own novice training. This is fucking hilarious. Okay, whatever.
But
What are these gains? Like, listen, if you gain like 1 pound or even 1.5 pounds of muscle growth, even if it's in a test or something, you've gained muscle. Now, can you see it visually? No. So it's such a sad case, right? The majority of people want to see things visually on the outside. Has nothing to do with, I gained how much? I gained muscle. Yeah, I gained 1 pound. Okay. Aren't you happy? You gained 1 pound. Yeah, but I can't see it.
you know, routinely when I see guys who are not gaining muscle and they're literally stuck at a one plate
If you want to Airbnb your
bench per side for 5 reps, they're either just doing excessive amounts
They're stuck with 1 plate doing 5 reps. What?
of volume, thinking that can make up for intensity, or when you watch their training, instead of actually doing hard work sets, they just do really slow negatives, right? They do really slow negatives and they think that that means they're training hard, or they just do a bunch of floppy cheese.
No, it's because they don't realize it's based on an adaptation process. That's why they're not gaining anything. Look, then that includes your food that you're eating. When you're eating, that's based on an adaptation process as well. That in combination with the adaptation process in lifting, I think people really are so confused out there. You're trying to reach for the stars. So if you're trying to reach for the stars, then reach for the stars. Try to get there. You have to keep going. You have to keep pushing further and further. You understand me? You can't just like, well, I'm just going to eat a little bit of food. You have to keep eating more and more and more. Now that you've gained some muscle, you need to compensate for the amount of muscle that you have, the energy it's going to use up, and then to build new muscle, and then a whole bunch of factors that are involved there.
Reps really, really fast and think that that's training hard. Instead,
In other words, you're climbing. You need to keep climbing the steps to get to the top of the stairwell. If you don't keep climbing, then how the fuck are you ever going to reach the top of the stairwell? See what I mean?
of coming in and working on progressive overload with good straight sets, with control, with reasonable ranges of motion. And I want to be clear on.
Look, I got nothing against progressive overload. I think that's a great process. Yes, you should progressive overload. But if you're doing it every day, progressively overloading every day, then that's not based on an adaptation process when it comes to muscle building. That is just, you're just focusing now on concentric exercises, right? Concentric, and the force production and this pump, the pump, because you're eating an artificial carbohydrate diet. So anything that you gain there eating an artificial diet is going to be artificial muscle growth. Get it? That's why in science they tell you there's two types of hypertrophy: myofibular hypertrophy and sarcoplasmic. You understand me? No, I'm not saying one could exceed the other. I'm not saying sarcoplasmic is bad. It could be used as a utility to build more myofibulars. But if that's your major concentration, hello. Look, muscle damage is based, an adaptation is based on muscle damage, okay? That's based on eccentric exercises causes that damage. It's not based on concentric exercises. Lifting every day progressively. Hello? Shit. Muscles don't damage all the time, every day. They damage in an adaptation, and it only happens once. And then it never happens again. Then you need to get another new adaptation. You need to figure it out on your own.
A lot of this, guys, like a lot of this stuff is not even been proven in the lab. You know, people say, well, really slow negatives. I'm like, where's the data? Because
I love these people. Well, maybe it's slow negatives will cause the muscle to grow. Maybe if I do high volume, maybe if I do pyramiding, maybe if I do drop sets or cluster sets, maybe these special sets will fucking make them grow magically out of thin fucking air. If there ain't no damage, then there's nothing to grow. And damage only happens what? In an adaptation, dude.
Seen plenty of phenomenal physiques who don't bother with any of that at all. And I'm talking amazing physiques.
Yeah, I've seen amazing puffy physiques, you know, on these fake carbohydrate diets, okay? I've seen a lot of them. And I've seen a lot of people come out of these stupid exercise, stupid shits, and then they go right on the carbohydrate diets like Tristan Lee, and they all blow up with the phony muscles.
And in the real world, I've never met many jacked guys who even train that way in my decades in the gym. Granted, most of my background is strength training. I'm just now working on physique stuff. But
you know, the problem with a lot of people, they put pressure like on Tristan Lee, eat carbohydrates so that he could look the part. They're like, well, you lift pretty heavy. You need to look the part. They don't understand that lifting, practiced strength, lifting heavy, isn't based necessarily on having so much muscle, but in fact, having natural strength that you don't have to practice. Unpracticed strength is based on what? It's based on having more muscles. Now, if you want to be a lifting gym slave, then lift weights concentrically and you'll be a slave to that forever. Now, if you want to build real muscle and not be a slave to the lift, then build the muscle and you won't be a slave, and the lifts will always be there. They'll always be there. They'll never go away.
Muscle building is still muscle building, okay? But I've seen very few.
I know. Yes, muscle building's muscle building. He's so obsessed with muscle building, but he's never building muscles. That's why he's turned himself into a gym lifting slave. That's the whole campaign. Get it, bro? Gym lifting slave. Hello?
Guys who got good results doing the really, really slow thing. They're the exception to the rule if they get good results. And I've seen
this is like a person, they're obsessed. They're obsessed. they keep lifting to try to build the muscle so that they can have the muscle so that they don't have to be a lifting slave. But yet he's a slave to it because he's never built any muscle. He doesn't know how to build muscle. He doesn't know what builds muscle. He doesn't know anything. And so he keeps lifting, and then it's all convoluted because it's based on a forced production, a phony trained strength. And then he thinks, well, but I'm going to build muscle. And he's never building any muscles, because if he built muscles, he wouldn't have to keep lifting all the time. This practiced strength. You understand me? If you build real myofibrillars, you don't have to keep coming to a gym and building there's no maintenance, there's nothing. You don't have to keep coming there all the time. The lift will be there according to the muscle fiber, because the motor units will have proliferated to the new fibers. You understand me? So you don't have to be a lifting gym slave, bro.
Plenty of guys, even back in the day, who they would mess with the super slow method, who were not natty, who still didn't get they didn't gain a whole lot of muscle, like less than you would expect. And it's not supported in.
Oh man, this guy's really fucking brain dead. You know, in the past, you see, this is what I try to explain to people. You've been domesticated. You are a domesticated animal. What happens when a pig when you release a pig from being domesticated and you send him out in the wild? What happens to him? He starts changing. How does he change? He grows tusks, and he grows a lot of hair on his body, and his body gets super muscular and super big. Okay, what happens to a human since he's been domesticated in cities, and then you send him out in the wild? You send him out in nature. What's going to happen to his body? It's going to get muscularly big. It's going to get muscularly strong. He's going to start hunting and doing a whole bunch of stuff that he wouldn't normally do in the city. He's going to hunt, kill large animals. He's going to do a bunch of stuff. And his body, his DNA is going to change. Yeah, your DNA and body is going to change. You're not going to look like the feeble, weak human, domesticated human that you've become. You see, you can compare domesticated animals with wild animals. They're different. The wild animals are always bigger and stronger and look totally different than these domesticated human animals that they've domesticated on stupid ass farms. Get it, bro? That's why they call it domestication. You have been domesticated, and they put you on a what? On a plant-based diet, on a slave diet. That's part of the change in your DNA. That's why when people online, they promote carnivore diet, notice how they've changed physically. They've changed physically. Their DNA is changing. They look different. They look more muscular, more built. They look lean. They don't look fat, plumpy, weak, and shitty. Get it? They don't look domesticated anymore. They look slightly undomesticated. So this is what I'm trying to explain to you people. You slaves have been domesticated.
The lab. In fact, a lot of the research on the really slow shows that you gain less muscle. Okay? Same thing.
What? Going on the slow shows less muscle on the slow. Fucking man, this guy's making up shit. Weights don't build any fucking muscles, man. Shut up.
People are like, well, I'm doing pre-exhausting. That's not hard training. That's inefficient training. Train your big stuff, then your small stuff.
Training doesn't build muscles. You build muscles when you get an adaptation. And that's called, read it up, man, in science, dude, if you don't believe me. An adaptation means what? That muscles have been damaged. They get damaged in an adaptation, and then they go through a repair and a remodeling. Get it? It takes a while for that, and you need to be in an anabolic growth state. Your, let's just put it this way, nitrogen balance, the nitrogen balance needs to be even. If it's off, forget it.
All right, that has been proven in the real world and in the lab to work. Doing straight, hard sets, going close to failure or to failure. You'll see a mixture of the two throughout this video a bit. You'll see some of the stuff's about a rep or so away. Some of it is to failure. All right, I tend to do pull-ups and curls pretty much to failure, for example.
Yes, the failure is going to get these adaptations. Yes, the failure is going to get it. Man, an intelligent person doesn't have to do all these stupid things to get an adaptation. All you need to know is what is an adaptation and what will get me that adaptation. Do you understand me? And then you need to figure out what's going to build my muscle when I get an adaptation. Really simple. Protein synthesis needs to exceed that breakdown. That means you need to be what? In an anabolic growth state. Yeah.
So that's hard training, right? Like right there, I did pull-ups until I got stuck at the bottom. I couldn't do another one on a weighted pull-up. Pretty straight.
His back is fat. It's really fatty. And it's kyphosis. Notice how it sticks out. The spine and the back area sticks out. He's suffering from kyphosis. Plus, he's got sarcopenia now. It's coming on big time.
Forward, right? That's hard training. You notice on the curls and everything, everything's controlled, but it's not super
Hi guys, look at me. I'm a monkey. I can pull myself up and down on this monkey bar.
slow, and it's not fast. It's just good, decent tempo, taking sets to failure. When it starts getting hard, I maybe do a slow eccentric on the last rep. I know I'm going to get, then see if I can get one more, and if it sticks, then I'm done. Okay? It just sticks at the bottom. Okay, that's what we mean by hard training. And you're not going to be able to replace intensity.
Here's the old saying, man. All you people that are focused on the concentric exercise, you're focused on this force production practice strength. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to explain this. When you don't use it, you go away, you lose it. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. But here's the thing. If you build real muscle, right? Real muscle, you're not going to lose it because it's been built real. I'm not just talking about, well, I need to build these nuclei so I could, I need these nuclei. I need these nuclei so it could get bigger. No, it's not just based on nuclei, get it? It's based on an adaptation process is really what you want to get. Yeah.
With volume, okay, because that's the solution, and that's really what I see. It's not only is it something that people started doing more and more of, a lot of your evidence-based guys, people started doing more and more of, a lot of your evidence-based guys who cite some of the studies and stuff, you look at the way they train, they're training like 5 reps from failure. Well, no wonder they need 20.
They are? Okay, and?
Or 30 sets to see any progress. Okay? No wonder.
They need 30 sets to see progress. Man, you are adapted to all these exercises. So you need to eke out, you need to figure out how to get a new adaptation. You understand me? You're all tapped out. You're all tapped out. Man, oh, Jesus Christ. I'll explain this again. You need to be in an anabolic growth state, and it needs to be all the time. It needs to be all the time. I don't know how long you're going to go to try to build muscles, but you constantly need to be in an anabolic growth state. You need to be like a fat person. They're anabolic. That's why they're growing all the time, but they're getting fat because they're stupid. And so they're eating all day, they're anabolic, they're growing and getting fat and growing and getting fat. You need to be like that fat person. You need to be eating all day, every day. You need to be eating a lot. You need to be in an anabolic growth state. And so when you do go into the gym and you shoot for an adaptation, you're anabolic, get it? It makes it a lot easier to build muscles in an anabolic growth state and to get this muscle damage, this adaptation process, and to go through the repair and the remodeling and then repeat. It makes it a lot easier. But this, I'm going to lift weights and I'm going to magically build muscles, and I'm just eating bagels like Blaha and tofu and some spaghetti and hot dogs. It's not going to happen, bro. If you're not in an anabolic growth state, you are never going to build any real muscle. I'm going to tell you right now, if you are not in an anabolic growth state, you are not going to build any real muscle, and specifically without an adaptation. No adaptation, no anabolic growth state, you are not going to build any muscle. You are wasting your time in the gym. You are a lifting gym slave, dude.
And and I say the same thing about a lot of the studies with those guys.
Studies my ass. If you don't have any money, I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't have any money, do not waste your time going to a gym. But if you want to waste your time going to a gym because you're a slave, you have no money, go there and lift. But don't complain about it. Don't complain that you're not building muscles and all that, or you're building phony muscles eating your shitty slave diet carbohydrates, okay? You understand me? Doing like these stupid ass concentric fucking exercises.
It's the exact same thing. That's almost its own video, right? If they don't know what training to failure is, or close to failure, then how are they going to...
Yeah, training to failure is going to magically push and build that muscle on that tofu spaghetti hot dog diet. Yeah, okay.
Judge it in the lab in their test subjects? Well, no wonder their studies conflict with the other studies showing,
The studies are based on like 1 or 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks or whatever of lifting. And then they go, look, all these people are untrained. And they go, look, they built muscle. This group built this group built that, whatever, dot, dot, dot. And very seldom do they ever bring out these people that are trained to show you what they get. Want to know why? Because trained people don't get anything because they're adapted. They may get something if they put them in an adaptation. To get an adaptation, that's totally different in the study. They may get something, but then it too will stop because they've adapted.
5 to 10 sets a week done really hard produces a pretty robust amount of muscle growth. And that's the take home. And I want to be clear, guys, we have numerous studies over the years showing that even in intermediate lifters, they'll call them trained lifters, I call them intermediates. And what happens? There's never been a study done in the lab where 5 to 10 sets done to failure failed to produce muscle growth. Let me repeat that again. There has never been, to my knowledge, any studies that were lasted more than, unless they were really short, like 3 weeks or 4 weeks. But if they lasted at least 8 weeks, every single study I have ever seen over the last decade in which 5 to 10 really hard sets, where they took them to momentary muscle failure, per week for a muscle, failed to produce pretty significant muscle growth.
Man, lifting a weight doesn't produce muscle growth. An adaptation, when you get an adaptation, it produces muscle damage. That's what it produces. It produces an apoptosis and a necrosis of the muscle. So how the fuck can a muscle get bigger if it's losing muscles, if it's been damaged? Makes no sense. What is going to make that muscle grow? Food. You being in an anabolic growth state during the repair and the remodeling part of that adaptation. And then how does it adapt? By building what? Bigger and stronger. So when you come back the second time, it's resilient from what? From further assaults. To get what? To get damaged. It's the protective effect. Duh. What the fuck is he talking about? Muscles protect themselves from getting further adaptations, muscle damage. How? By repairing itself bigger and stronger, and then it never does it again. Get it? You need to figure out how to get the weaker, deeper muscle fibers, or not the deeper, weaker. You could say deeper, weaker. How to get these other fibers, these other hybrid fibers to damage and then them repair and remodel. How do you do that? Through an adaptation process. What is an adaptation process? Meaning that you need to do something that you're unfamiliar with or unaccustomed, an exercise which you've never done before. So you go there and then you do that exercise. You've never done it before, and guess what? You're gonna get damaged, right? See, let's say you're a lifting slave, but you've never done calisthenics. Do you not think that your muscles are gonna get sore and get damaged and get sore and hurt and all that kind of stuff when you do calisthenics for the first time? It's gonna be hard when you do it, right? Yeah, right, that's right. And then these muscles are gonna get what? They're gonna get damaged, and then they're gonna repair and remodel what? Stronger. And then when you come back to do the calisthenics again, that one, whatever calisthenic exercise you're doing, I don't know, dips, pull-ups, whatever, whichever one you're doing there on the day, when you come back to do it, it's not going to happen again. So now you're going to switch and do what? dips. So when you do dips and you've never done them before, you're unaccustomed to doing them, you're going to get what? You're going to get damaged. And then what? It's going to repair and remodel stronger, right? Providing, of course, you're eating. If you don't eat properly, then you'll miss the mark. And then they'll shrink instead of getting bigger and stronger. And then this whole process might repeat over and over again. You may be getting an adaptation, getting damaged consistently and getting sore. And in fact, what's happening there is you're losing muscles now. Get it? You're not building it. I know a lot of people like that. They go, I go to the gym, I'm getting sore. I got this damage and it lasts for a couple of days. But guess what? They end up losing muscles. And then they even say, I got smaller. I hear people, I got smaller or I shrunk or this or that because they're fucking stupid. They don't understand that you need to be in an anabolic growth state when you're shooting for adaptations. Lifting slaves who shoot for concentric exercise force production, they don't need to be in that. Want to know why? Because they're not getting any of that. There's many people that never get sore in the gym lifting, but then you get these fucking assholes, dumb people. They do get sore. They do get damaged. They do get an adaptation, and they don't even know what the fuck to do with it. And then they come back and they go, well, I keep getting sore all the time doing these particular exercises, but I'm not getting bigger, and if anything, I got smaller. Ha! How stupid is that?
And over and over and over. And men and women and trained lifters, untrained lifters, everybody. It works every single time in the lab when the actual experts are making you do sets to failure under control. You know, like what you see me doing right here. This is an example. This.
Yeah. You're doing it to failure so you could draw more glycogen in the muscle, eating your carbohydrate fake muscle diet. You're a fake fucking carbohydrate diet. Get it? Artificial fucking diet. Dude, for every gram of glycogen, 3 grams of water drawn between the skin and muscle into the muscle. Phony muscles.
Preacher.
If you are adapted and you are lifting, you are a fucking endurance athlete, dude. This is based on endurance now. Get it? I'm going to failure. What do you think? Fucking marathon runners do? They go to failure. Get it? It's endurance. Fucking. It's glycogen loading. Christ.
This is a set to failure done with just good control. Okay.
Whatever.
These sort of sets, when done in a laboratory condition, even in trained lifters, have, when you're in that 5 to 10 set rep range per week, have produced measurable, in the lab, measurable with the equipment, muscle growth every single time.
Okay, what type of muscle growth is it, Blaha? Is it myofibular or is it sarcoplasmic? I can tell you right now, it's sarcoplasmic. It's sarcoplasmic because it's based on failure. It isn't based on adaptation. He even tells it to you straight in your face. Blaha says it's based on failure training to failure. What is that? Endurance. Okay, what is this? What type of growth is associated with that? Glycogen loading. Okay, what type of growth is associated with myofibular growth? Adaptations. What is that? Muscle damage. He didn't say you were getting damaged and then you were getting an adaptation and then you were getting muscle growth. He said you were training to failure and it was associated with muscles growing. With what? Sarcoplasmic. Duh.
So if the people are like, but I'm doing this, and I'm going to say, well, have you tried that?
Where's his muscles? Where's his muscles? He's so flat. He looks like shit. He's so flat. He's got no muscles. He's got nothing. Nothing at 47. And he's got nothing at 47 years old, man. He's 47. He's got no muscles. Christ, man. I'm 57. I'm 57, and I have more muscle than him. I'm a decade ahead of him.
You tried doing something that...
And I'm not a lifting slave, for God's sakes. I don't lift all the time. Shit, man. I only lift when I need it.
In studies has worked every single time in 6 or 7 or 8 different countries. Over and over and over. Have you tried that yet? Well, then you're probably not training hard, guys. You're probably not training hard. You're not getting close to failure.
What an idiot. You know, here's another thing. Your lifts are going to go down with age. They just are, because we're so domesticated. I've begun to realize this more and more the more I study about human human anatomy and humans and what they, what are we, what are we doing, what are we doing with these animals and humans being domesticated? Why are we aging? Why are we falling apart? Why do we look the way that we look? And all these things, dude, because we're so artificial. We live such an artificial life. You understand me? And so it's based on an adaptation process. For your bodies to really change, it's based on an adaptation process. That's why I told you about animals that are domesticated. It's an adaptation process. When you don't use it, you lose it. You get it? When you don't use it, you lose it. You do. You really do lose it.
You're either using thinking super slow negatives or something like that as a replacement for training hard on a set. Sorry, I have this one clip in there and I keep bumping the J-hook in it. We're going to see it a couple times. We just deal with it. Right? It's not a replacement. Doing 25 or 30 sets for a muscle group is not a replacement. I have watched guys stall.
Lifting weights in the gym is not going to undomesticate you. I'm sorry to break this to you, Blaha, but lifting man-made weights in the gym doesn't undomesticate you. So you could go back to being the mean, lean, mean fighting machine human that you were meant to be in nature. You get it? You have to do the stuff that is required in nature for your body to be undomesticated and go back to being a beast, to being a genetic beast. But you are not a genetic beast by lifting weights in the gym. And there's other things that are involved in there too.
On that nonsense over and over and over. They come to me, I take them down to 10 hard sets, and then magically their 125 bench press for 5 goes up to 155 or 165 for 5.
Magically their bench press goes up. It's because they practice that lifting. Your bench press will go up because you're practicing at lifting. Get it? That too is based on an adaptation process in the concentric exercise based on what? Force production. Christ.
They start getting bigger, they start getting thicker.
No, they didn't get bigger, they didn't get thicker. What they did was they got fatter and they gained more weight. They just gained weight through eating what? These fake carbohydrate diets. That's what they got. If they did get that. But I don't believe anything that Blaha says because he's not getting bigger and thicker or anything. He's not getting anything. He's just fucking a lifting slave.
They gain muscle, they get a little leaner.
No, they don't. Prove it.
Without
Prove it. Prove it. He's making this stuff up.
fail, over and over and over and over.
If you have to say that, if you have to say it without proving it, it's not true. It's fake.
Actually train hard, do a moderate amount of work, get the work done, eat plenty of protein.
I love this one. Train hard and do a moderate amount of work. Train hard, do moderate amount of work. Which one is it? He's always contradicting himself anyways. Now he's going to tell you you should eat a lot.
Plenty of food and get back out of the gym.
See? Eat plenty of protein and plenty of food and get out of the gym. Which one is it? Protein or food? What's the food that you have to eat? Carbohydrates. See? Carbohydrates. He's stupid. And then get out of the gym.
That's it. And it really is that simple for most people.
Yeah, and that's it. That's it. You want me to tell you what's going to build muscles? I just told you. Find a nice buffet. Maybe in your local, I don't know, your local city, whatever, wherever the fuck you live, dude. Find a nice, cheap, good, a really good, cheap buffet or whatever you could afford. I don't know. Maybe you don't have money. You have money. I would invest in a buffet, man. I wouldn't buy food, go home and do anything. I'd go there and eat for as many hours as you can, especially when you get an adaptation. The most important time is when you do get an adaptation, this damage you've lifted in the gym, immediately head down to the buffet and eat for the next 4 hours, for whatever time limit they're open there for lunch. My old buffet, way back over 20-something years ago, this buffet I went to, they were open for 5 hours. I could eat for 5 hours straight. I could literally sit there and eat for 5 hours straight after my workout. Yeah. So that is going to help you really build muscle. And then after that, if you have food at home, I don't know, you could load up on eggs if you can buy them cheap or whatever else you could get there, load up on it, and then repeat the next day. Go back to a buffet and eat again. Just keep eating till you're super full.
They're just not training hard.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
You're just not eating hard enough. That's the problem. It has nothing to do with training hard. You're not training smart, and you're not eating hard.
But that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys.
Yes, it's been very uninformative, man. Look at this gym lifting slave. He looks like he's gonna explode. His head is gonna pop off. This is ridiculous. I'll see you in the next one. I just love watching lifting slaves. I'll see you in the next one. Tell what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel, helps with the algorithm. Man, I just laugh at these lifting slaves. It's funny to watch them. See you later, man. These domesticated human slaves. Yes, man.